Coming up next on Tech News Today, Project Tango is bringing augmented reality to Lowe's hardware of all places with the Lenovo Fab 2 Pro. Also, the transition plan for presidential Twitter accounts. We'll detail that. Minecraft is coming to the classroom to teach valuable lessons to students. Hopefully they don't play too many games while they're at it. A closer look at the challenges that faced the Comma 1, and self-tying shoes is now a category. All that and more coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit. Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1632, recorded Tuesday, November 1st, 2016.
This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to more than 100 job sites, including social networks, all with a single click. Screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/twit.
And by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage process into the 21st century with a fast, easy, and completely online process. Check out Rocket Mortgage today at QuickenLoans.com/TNT.
And by Jira Service Desk from Atlassian. Jira Service Desk delivers everything your IT team needs out of the box at a cost-effective price. For a free 7-day trial of Jira Service Desk, visit Atlassian.com/twit. Welcome to Tech News Today. This is a show where we talk about everything that happened in technology today. I'm Megan Maroney.
It's actually a really great name.
It is.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
I'm Jason Howell. We're going to talk about technology. We're going to talk about, well, you're going to talk about technology because we have a lot of feedback, so we're going to get to that a little bit later. We're going to talk about laces and shoes and the next wave of shoe technology that continues to happen for some reason. But before we get there, we're going to talk about augmented reality. Lenovo's long-awaited Project Tango phone is finally shipping to consumers. The Lenovo Fab 2 Pro, is it Fab 2 Pro? Yeah, I always get it backwards, but it's Fab 2 Pro, not Fab Pro 2. It's a unique device that houses a 16-megapixel rear-facing camera along with custom depth and motion tracking sensors that allow the device to scan and track movement throughout a room or an area, wherever you happen to be. This allows the user to do things like visualize how a piece of furniture is going to look inside the room in real time and to proper scale. You can even turn surfaces of the room into playable game space, kind of what you're seeing right here, what is this game called? This game is called
Towers for Tango.
Towers for Tango. The Lenovo Fab 2 Pro is available through the Lenovo site right now for $499. It'll eventually appear on the shelves of hardware stores like Lowe's, if you believe that, or not. It's kind of a crazy place to find these phones. But it's going to go there in the coming weeks only because this would be a really great tool for like contractors, for designers, for home designers to kind of visualize things before you actually put them in place. And that's just one of many kind of uses for this technology.
There will literally be dozens of people buying this phone.
I know, man, it's good. They're going to move at least twos off the shelf.
I have some concerns with this Fab Pro 2 or Fab 2 Pro.
That you don't have one? Is that your concern?
No.
Oh.
I don't want one. That's not my concern either. They also had a kids game they were showing off. It was called Zombie Color Blaster, and there's kids running around. I think we have the video, the like marketing video for this. There's kids like running around with their Fab 2 Pro, shooting zombies with color. First of all, I'm afraid they're going to drop it any second now.
Yeah, I know. That doesn't
There's
look
no
very
case
stable.
on that. Also, like, are you going to hand over a $500 device to like that? And if so, like, is it just an extra thing that you just buy to, occupy your kids? And so what else does it do? I don't like it.
Oh, you don't like it? I think there's a lot to like. It's whether you need it or not. I can understand that it's hard to watch like some of these gameplay and and apps and all this type of stuff and visualize like as a consumer, oh, this is the phone that fills that need that I have. It's almost like I could see a future where this technology is built into devices by default because I feel as an extra feature, it could take something like Daydream VR, which is Google's virtual reality platform, and it could be a nice stepping stone to inside out virtual reality tracking. Like that's something that everybody's working on right now. They're trying to make it so that you don't need a computer and a tether to do virtual reality. It should all be done on the device. And right now with Daydream, once this releases, I think the official release of the hardware, the Daydream View is the 10th of this month. I mean, once it's out, you know, it has a controller and it's VR, but it doesn't have that like integration of the world that surrounds you, you know, bringing that table into the gameplay and actually putting something on there and making that be the play surface. I could see this as a really good stopgap. So if they just kind of like the fact that it's hitting this one single device and does these things, it's hard to like envision why you need this as a consumer. But I could really see this being awesome technology if it expands beyond that.
Yeah, I guess so. So it's like sort of a concept car. It's like you're not, I mean, because if you see someone like playing Minecraft on the HoloLens, that's awesome. Like, but are you going to, you know, have $3,000 to buy a HoloLens at this point? No. So it's for developers. Do you think this is for developers?
I think, well, I don't know if this specific device is intended specifically for developers, but I think what you're saying as far as concept car, I think that's absolutely right. Like there have been Project Tango devices prior to this. They weren't really necessarily totally consumer devices. Well, you know, you could get them as a developer to kind of like figure out what Project Tango was all about and develop for it and see, you know, kind of how you would develop for it, I suppose. This is just the first like, you know, first Project Tango device that you could actually go into a store and buy. The challenge there is proving to someone why they would need this over something else. And I think that's a very tall order to do, but it has a limited use case. And I think that hopefully through this, you know, like some of the games that they're announcing, I think they announced like 35 apps and games specifically for this type of hardware. Hopefully that's enough to get people interested in what's capable, what's possible with AR. I mean, Pokemon Go was air quotes AR, but it wasn't really augmented reality. Like literally all they were doing was tracking your GPS and then opening the camera and putting something at random there. I mean, they're not necessarily using the environment that surrounds you. With this, you can actually scan your environment and, oh, there's a table there. That suddenly becomes a play surface. So this is taking the success of Pokemon Go one step further. So the problem is it's one device and not everybody has it. So how successful can it actually be?
Right. And how successful, like how many people are still playing Pokemon Go?
Well, not many people are still playing Pokemon Go, but I think what Pokemon Go did is it opened up people's eyes to a new way of playing games like Pokemon Go. Augmented reality, that was kind of like many people's first experience with augmented reality. Many games don't last very long after they explode on the scene, but they lead to other things. Mm-hmm. And that's what I hope that this will do. I want one.
Well, here's something I'm more interested in. Sorry. The much anticipated Minecraft education. I'm not sorry, actually.
Sorry, that's all right.
The Minecraft Education Edition just launched at a cost of $5 per user. Microsoft says they've now made the full version available in 11 languages and 50 countries with input from more than 50,000 students and educators across a diverse set of learning environments. Students, educators, and administrators can get lessons, plans, tutorials, starter worlds, and the new version itself at education.minecraft.net. I'm really excited about this. And I mean, obviously so is Microsoft. They know like if they get this in the classroom, it's the same reason, you know, all those Macs were in the classroom when we were younger, you know, get them young. That's what they always say. And I think Minecraft is an amazing game. It's just, you know, there's so much to do and it always changes. Brian Burnett, you know, he's like, I hadn't played Minecraft in a long time and I just started playing it. So there's so much more you can do. And that open-ended world, I love that. And I love the idea of it being in the classroom.
Yeah. So my question about this has always kind of been like, how is it going to be used to teach subjects? I understand why it's potentially a great teaching tool. You know, it's kind of like this unlimited world. You can build whatever you want, having the teacher kind of command the experience to the classroom. So there's controls and all that kind of stuff. One example is that there would be a huge model of a human eye, you know, that's built, and then you can kind of go inside the human eye and explore it. That's all great. But the problem comes down to the fact that the content that is required to drive these lessons and stuff within the world, who's building that? Microsoft isn't building that. It's up to the teachers. And I don't know how many teachers are going to sit there and like build these crazy worlds in Minecraft. You know what I mean? Like who's creating that content? I don't know if the teachers are doing that. Maybe they employ their students to build it for future classes. I'm not sure. But.
Maybe. I mean, you know, I have, you know, I've seen kids create cells. Like, do you remember when you would like learn about a cell and you'd have a paper and a pencil and you draw and then here's the nucleus and all the other parts I don't remember because I didn't get to create it in Minecraft. But if I had, I'm sure I would remember all the other parts of the cell. And so they have the Minecraft Mentors, which is the program. It's a community of people that love to do this and create this content. And so that's what I think is different than like all those Macs that might have gone unused when we were kids because maybe our teachers didn't know how to use them. Like most teachers at this point know how to use forums, and this is a really active forum. There are a lot of teachers that really are involved and do understand. Like there's enough, there's a tipping point of teachers that understand how to do this and want to help and want to spread Minecraft, whether they've been kids themselves who, grew up with Minecraft or maybe not, they're maybe not teachers yet, but, like older kids might, or they're coming, they're on their way, they're not far behind. Or else they're parents that have helped their kids and they understand. So I do believe, and also with the power of Microsoft behind it, I do believe that this could really help in education.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing what they come up with. President Barack Obama is basically running his victory lap at the moment, but behind the scenes, hard questions are being answered by the White House. Namely, what will happen to all of those tweets and followers of the @POTUS Twitter account when he vacates the Oval Office? On January 20th, 2017, Twitter will shuttle all of his tweets to a new account called @POTUS44, meaning the next president of the United States will begin with a clean slate in the original POTUS account. That is, of course, except for the follower count that has amassed since the account was initially created in 2013 of 11.1 million followers. This is also going to extend to the First Lady account, VP, White House, and other kind of associated accounts that are going to get a new one to archive, to move all of that information over to appended with 44 at the end, essentially.
What if the First Lady is not a lady?
I know, right? So the FGOTUS suddenly becomes the FGOTUS, which is actually, what is it, First Gentleman of the United States? FGOTUS. Well, I went FGOTUS, that's what it would be.
I know, I'm sorry, I'm a child.
It's a little weird. Doesn't have the same flow to it. So I don't know what happens there if the FGOTUS account just ends up empty for 4 years.
I'll take over it. I'm a good tweeter. What's amazing about this, doesn't it blow your mind that Obama was the first president to have a Facebook and a Twitter and an Instagram and a Snapchat, I believe. But the others, he's been in there for 8 years, so it makes sense. But it's just, you see how
pretty much through social networking.
Yeah, because they had websites, they had to figure out what to do. They've archived Bush and Clinton's, Bill Clinton's, what it looked like and when they left office, what whitehouse.gov looked like when they left. So you can still go back and look at that. But yeah, they weren't on Facebook. It just sort of blows your mind about how fast things have been working.
I'll be curious to see what happens when the next president of the United States ends up in that position and they already have Twitter accounts with millions of followers, 12.8 million for Donald Trump, 10.1 million for Hillary Clinton. When do they decide to use the flow or the presidential account versus
POTUS.
I got stuck on FGOTUS and I couldn't get it out of my brain. You know what I mean? When do they opt to use one versus the other, or do they say, I'm not going to use that. I've got my own. This is where my views are shared. I don't know.
Well, I'll expect anything. I guess January 20th when whoever it is gets inaugurated. Also, I know you were worried about this, but Snapchats will also be going into the National Archives.
Yep, and Facebook and Instagram. I think they're.
But Snapchat's in the National Archives. So, Jason, I know you've been experiencing a little lens flare problem with your new Pixel, and as it turns out, Google might not be the only company dealing with a few software or possibly hardware headaches that are leading to complaints about photos. Apple Insider reports that several iPhone 7 users are complaining about photos from the brand new 7 Plus that appear to have a watercolor effect. Users in Apple's support community say some of their photos look like a watercolor effect has been applied, which could be nice in the right situation, but not for every situation. Apple says there may be different reasons for causing this effect and that users should get help by contacting Apple Care, or they could go to a Genius Bar. I have had no problems. I love the photos, but this is complicated because it really depends on how you're like, you can't just look at a photo on the web or on your own phone and say like, oh, I can really tell that watercolor effect. 'Cause it really depends on the device you're looking at the photo on, how it was uploaded, just your own eyeballs.
And even just the comparison, like the comparison that's on this article, I have a really hard time telling the difference between the two. I suppose the one on the left is slightly kind of smearier, I guess, if I was really trying. There's also an article that we linked to, Kara, from Forbes that has a few side-by-sides there. There, it's a little bit more obvious where, like, if you, I don't know, like the other side of this is if you're just looking at the image, are you going to notice as much as if you are doing a side-by-side where you're like, oh, yeah, one does look way better than the other. You can see on the left, I believe that's let's see here, the left is the Adobe Lightroom kind of raw file. The one on the right is the JPEG with improved color contrast and, just different changes. Like, I mean, is it the camera hardware? Is it the software processing? Is everybody experiencing this and some people just have an untrained eye to it? I don't know. It's hard for me to tell because I don't have an iPhone to compare it against.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm not experiencing it. I tweeted it out. I mean, that's just, I don't have a ton of followers, but nobody said they had experienced it in the last couple hours since I tweeted it out.
Yeah.
You go through the support communities and sort of everyone's kind of complaining about a different thing.
Everybody has something to complain about
and
these days.
Yeah, you have no idea, like, was there no light in the room or was
right.
it, so I don't know. But I think there are a certain amount of people just worried that Apple's not taking care of this. Like, no one's paying attention. So
yeah.
I thought we could pay attention. I feel your pain,
yeah.
Plus users.
And finally, you may recall back in April, we covered an app called Talk Show that allowed iOS users to hold public text message conversations that the world could see and follow. As good an idea as public text messaging may have seemed, it appears the founders have decided to pull the plug on the service effective December 1st. In a post on Medium, Talk Show said, we don't see it getting big enough to have the impact that we had hoped for. I remember when this happened, it was kind of a big deal. There was also another app that was like, we take your photo reel and we make it public. It was like, do these things need to be public? But I did see, like I saw folks at The Verge use Talk Show a little bit instead of like during like live blogging events, let's say. It seemed like a good platform for that. It just didn't seem like a platform that everybody needs to use. Like, why do you need a public text message platform? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it may be right product, wrong time. Like we described it as like a podcast in text messages.
Sure.
So yeah, sometimes I wonder why people watch us chatting too. So, but please do.
Yeah.
keep watching.
Yeah, please continue. And we'll try and make it more exciting than a text message thread.
But they say they're working on something new. So, and just keeping the mobile app up didn't make sense. So I'm looking forward to what Michael Sippy's doing next. He's from Twitter, so
I'm sure they'll follow up with something and we'll talk about it then.
After the break, we hear from you, our TNT fans. Speak up about the stuff we missed in the tech news in the last few weeks. But first, let's take a minute to thank ZipRecruiter, the sponsor of this episode. Are you hiring? Do you know where to post your job to find the best candidates? Posting jobs in one place is not enough to find the best people to work with you or for you. If you want to find the perfect hire, you need to post your job on all the top job sites. And now you can. With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to more than 100 job boards, including social media networks like Facebook and Twitter, all with a single click. Just post once and watch your candidates roll into ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. You can search by skills, location, work experience, and more. ZipRecruiter's advanced matching technology delivers the most relevant candidates based on your criteria. ZipRecruiter offers optimized pages that look great on any screen. Add their unique mobile apply process for more visitors and applicants. Find candidates in any city or industry nationwide. No more juggling emails or calls to your office. You can add multiple users to your account. So find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by over 1 million businesses and is trusted by hundreds of Fortune 500 companies. More than 160 million candidate applications have been delivered. Whether you're hiring now or you plan to hire in the near future, check out their blog for recruiting tips and hiring resources. Right now, you can post your jobs on ZipRecruiter for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/twit. ZipRecruiter is the fastest way to hire the greatest people. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/twit. And we thank ZipRecruiter for their support of Tech News Today.
It's time for Mega Feedback. Back. That wasn't a real delay processing. That was fake. I did that.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that cool? I wish it sounded way more epic than that, but that's all I got. We've heard from a lot of you. With TNT at twit.tv is where you can have your voice be heard on the show. if we read it on the show, we've got 3 emails that we're gonna read to you today. Starting with Manica Brooks, who wrote in regarding Facebook's highly controversial ad controls that allow for the exclusion of certain ethnic affinities, as they put it. Manica writes, not only are we relying on how Facebook decides what counts as someone being part of a particular ethnic affinity group, which is a problem within itself, what criteria makes someone Latino in Facebook's eyes. Then Facebook goes another step further and allows advertisers to use Facebook's perceptions of race and ethnicity to make decisions about what people can or cannot have access to. In other words, Facebook believes that it is justifiable to have an apartment finding service which only targets its services to white people. Moreover, this whole process means that Facebook believes that a person's ethnic affinity indicates a predisposition to like or do certain things. Providing people limited or expanded opportunities because of race and ethnicity is a blatant example of race-based discrimination and or preference. And while we're on the topic of race and ethnicity, I just want to highlight a common practice that I've seen on the show, and many others that have been on the Twit Network. Very often guests and hosts will say women or people of color, or women or minorities. Presenting it as either or overlooks the fact that some of us are both. Not all women are white. And that's a really fantastic point. Something that's just a perspective that I had not heard of. And I think part of that is because that phrase, you're just so used to hearing that phrase that it's easy for it to, come top of mind and come back out. So thanks for the correction on that.
Absolutely. Well, Scott Remick took issue with our praise last week of the new hardware from Apple and Microsoft. He says the ports fiasco with the new MacBook Pro just demonstrates Apple's campaign to make their products entirely unsuitable for business use. I hear no one complaining that the laptops are too thick, but what we do experience are endless issues with lost adapters and the astronomical repair costs for their products compared to the competition. And regarding Microsoft, so much praise, but no appropriate complaint about the issues with all-in-one computers. These devices combine the lowest-end components to create a needless integrated device. There's a lot more to a product than how it looks. Total cost of ownership needs to stop being kicked to the wayside. So Scott has some serious issues. I think that his job is fixing computers. And he had some concern with us just saying, look at all those beautiful devices, because he's the one that's going to end up, yes, here's another dongle for you. I know you lost yours in the workplace. So I feel for you, Scott.
Yeah, I feel for you. And I think the total cost of ownership, that's a great point, not only in the sense of cost, as in like dollar cost, but cost and as in convenience. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that kind of come into play with this type of hardware advancement. I mean, it's been kind of interesting to follow, circling back to the Apple announcement, to kind of follow what kind of public perception of the event and the hardware that was unveiled has been. It's been pretty negative. There've been a lot of people that are just like, what is going on with Apple? Why are they doing this? How do you kind of feel about the hardware, like comparatively?
Well, it's not hardware that I would use necessarily. It's not like, I like the idea of a touch bar. It's fine. The Microsoft stuff, like I said, it all looks beautiful, but I'm not an artist, so I wouldn't use it. And, I think all of them are sort of aspirational devices. I think they're all really, they're all really expensive. That's something that I think,
Are they justifiably expensive?
Are they justifiably expensive? Well, I don't know. No. No. Like, does it? I don't think so. I think that people are buying fewer PCs. They're buying fewer laptops. And so both Microsoft and Apple, this is Microsoft's first, desktop PC. They're not as far into the hardware game as Apple is. But I think they kind of realize, we're going to be selling fewer of them. We have to make them high end. We have to charge more for them. It's just a matter of economics. So are they justifiable from their, bottom line perspective? Yeah, I think I want to see the PC industry continue to make more PCs, and if we're not going to be buying them so quickly, and I don't think we need to, then sure. If someone really rich wants to buy all of these devices, please do.
If I was really rich, maybe I would. Actually, well, we've already bought one.
You're really rich, so.
Oh, gosh, okay, keep it under wraps. We did buy the MacBook Pro. Primarily because it's the next one, you know, and my wife really needed to upgrade. But yeah, there's actually a really great post on MJ Tsai FGOTUS.com, which kind of collects a lot of different people, journalists, sites, a lot of their perspectives on Apple's announcement of hardware, and just kind of how a lot of them just think that it was kind of a tone deaf delivery after such a long time, and what seems like air quotes innovation in many people's eyes just kind of missed the boat to a large degree, and people are just going to buy it because, well, they have no choice. Well, maybe they do have the choice. It could be, kicking over to the Microsoft side of things. This is the first announcement where I've kind of wondered whether I might actually consider getting a Windows PC based on what Microsoft showed off comparatively. So I don't know. It sounds like I'm probably not alone in that regard. Phil Clutcher wrote in regarding the Otto self-driving truck that successfully delivered beer on its maiden voyage. Unfortunately, has not delivered beer here yet, but we're holding out hope. Phil is a truck driver himself and says, no one is talking about how long until this becomes the norm and 3 to 3.5 million truck drivers, including myself, are out of a job, not including the support personnel. And has anyone considered the employment implications of this? I, like many other drivers, are 40 and older who have been driving trucks most our adult lives and really don't know much work-related other than that. What are we supposed to do when self-driving trucks become commonplace? No one is going to hire a 40, 50, or 60-year-old with no experience other than driving. I mean, this is a huge challenge. We talk about it all the time on this show, just as far as emerging technology, coming along, artificial intelligence and the jobs that are displaced. Some people think that those positions end up translating into something else, like support positions for the automation that's happening. But yeah, I mean, if you spent your life and this is your trained skill, like, what do you do?
Yeah, and I think that they were, Otto was really presenting it as, there still needs to be a driver
supplemental,
there.
yeah.
Like there needs to be a driver there. There eventually will still be a driver within, the city. There's not going to, on the highway it'll be self-driving, but in the city they'll still need someone. But yes, this is an economic problem, and I think people have considered it, but it's a hard one because I think this has happened to lots of people's jobs over, that this is how it works. Like your jobs
unfortunately.
Yeah. So
this is how it works in the technology age, technological
or it's
age.
the way it's always worked,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we've, in the industrial age, like machines
Sure.
have been taking our jobs for a really long time, and you would hope that then they would have better jobs for some, but there will not be better jobs for everyone. That's just not the way it works.
Yeah. Well, speaking of kind of driving issues, Sam Abul-Samid joins us after this break to give us his thoughts on George Hott's sudden about-face last week with the Comma 1. But before we talk to Sam, let's take a minute to thank the sponsor of this episode. That's Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. It's for those of you who've gone through the mortgage process and know how challenging it is to get to the other end. It's also for those of you who have never done this before and don't realize like all of the hoops, all the fiery hoops that you have to jump through in order to get all your ducks in a row in order to finally, get that mortgage and move into the home of your dreams. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage approval process into the 21st century. It makes the whole process a little bit easier for you. It's fast, powerful, and completely online. Rocket Mortgage has taken all the complicated, time-consuming parts of applying for a mortgage out of the equation, so you aren't going to need to search through stacks of old files and paperwork and find all that information all over the place. With Rocket Mortgage, you can easily share your bank statements and your pay stubs at the touch of a button. That's going to help you get approved in minutes for a custom mortgage solution that's been tailored to your unique financial situation. And even better, with Rocket Mortgage, you can do all of this on your phone or your tablet. You already have everything you need. It's a quick online process that you can manage from the convenience of your couch. So if you're looking to refinance your mortgage or to buy a home, check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/TNT. That's quickenloans.com/TNT, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030. And we thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans for their support.
Last week, we told you about how George Hotz from Comma AI had discontinued his Comma 1. He decided not to release it. That's a device that turns a regular car into a self-driving car because he just didn't want to do it because he was frustrated with all the regulation. Self-driving cars are hard. We asked car tech expert Sam Abul-Samid to tell us more about what happened with George Hotz and what it says about the future of self-driving cars. Welcome, Sam.
Hey, Megan and Jason. Great to be back.
It's good to have you. So first, tell us what the Comma One was supposed to be, a little bit behind the technology.
Yeah, so we first heard about George Hotz's latest project back, I think it was last December. The Verge reported on it, that he was developing his own self-driving car technology, doing it on his own personal car, an Acura ILX. And then a few months later, we heard that he got a $3 million venture investment or seed investment, and he was planning to actually produce this system for sale as an aftermarket semi-autonomous system that would be comparable to what Tesla was offering with their first generation autopilot system. So it would be able to follow the lanes and follow the cars in front of you, automatically slowing down and speeding up to maintain a safe distance. And in September at the TechCrunch Disrupt conference, George took the stage to present the device that they were planning to launch by the end of this year, called the Comma One, which is supposed to sell for $999, and included a camera and a processing unit, and tied into the vehicle network to use the radar sensor that was already installed for adaptive cruise control. And first, it was initially going to be available for the Honda Civic and also some other Honda vehicles, I guess, and then eventually be available for other brands of vehicles.
And so when you first heard what Hotz was doing and you saw his presentation at TechCrunch Disrupt, what were your initial impressions of him? You've been in this space for a long time. You've been an engineer. What did you think of what he was doing?
Well, I've kind of followed Hotz's exploits for a number of years. First heard about him back in 2007 when he was part of the group that jailbroke the original first generation iPhone. And then a couple of years after that, he unlocked the Sony PlayStation 3. He's worked at a few different companies in the Valley. I think he had a stint at Google and at Facebook, both relatively short stints. And when I heard he was doing this, as somebody, I'm sure he's a very smart guy. Unfortunately, I've never had the opportunity to actually speak to him because he has declined to respond to any of my inquiries over the last 6 months. I've tried to reach out to him, and he has never responded, nor has anyone else from Comma.ai. I wanted to learn more about what they were doing. And basically, the attitude that he seems to have, from listening to him talk in other interviews and from the TechCrunch Disrupt presentation, he comes across as kind of arrogant, like he knows better than what everybody else does and how to do this stuff, how to do this self-driving stuff. And frankly, this is not a guy whose product I would trust in my car or my family or anybody around me on the road. I'm sure that he's very smart, but I'm sure that he's also taking a lot of shortcuts to do what he's doing. I was frankly glad when I heard that the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration had reached out to get more information. They didn't threaten him or anything. They just said, look, we heard what you're doing and we want to know a bit more about it. What are you doing to validate that this thing is safe? To protect the rest of the vehicles on the road, as well as people that buy this. And apparently, as soon as he got that letter, he decided, this isn't worth the hassle, and canceled the product.
So was there anything behind that? I mean, when we reported this story, it's like, really? He just got this letter? They just wanted to look more into it? And then he says, it's too much. I'll sell it in China.
No one sends me a letter.
Was there more to it? Is there something we're missing?
I think it was just a matter of, my guess is, and this is speculation because, nobody's really talking from Comma.ai, but my guess is that probably the lawyers for his investors, maybe said, before we put this thing on sale, maybe we should take a little bit deeper look at this and make sure that we've actually crossed our T's and dotted our I's and make sure this thing really is safe. Because, if you sell something like this and it goes wrong, you're going to have some pretty hefty lawsuits potentially to deal with. I found out that they had canceled this thing on Friday morning as I was actually walking into a conference in San Francisco. I was in San Francisco last week, and I was chairing a conference on ADAS to self-driving vehicles. That's driver assist systems and self-driving vehicles. And originally, George was actually scheduled to be the keynote speaker on Friday morning. And then a few days before the conference, they switched him out for somebody else from Comma.ai. And then as I was walking in to the conference venue, I was looking at my phone and saw on my Nuzzle feed the Verge story that Comma.ai had just announced that they had canceled the project. And and then when I got inside, I heard that they wouldn't be speaking, and so I got up and spoke. And part of my presentation, I talked about what we had discussed the day before when we were talking about regulations around autonomous driving. One of the things in the federal government guidance that came out about a month or so ago was they talked about defining what are the operational domains of these systems. So where do they work, where don't they work, and making sure that anybody producing these kinds of products, producing self-driving vehicles or any other related products, needs to make sure that the customers understand those operational domains. What can this thing do? What can it not do? And I think that's something that they probably decided it was just it was not going to work. One of the stories that I told was about during my days as an engineer back in the early 90s, developing a traction control system. And from looking at the data as we were doing the development, I realized you could probably detect some more things using just the wheel speed sensors, which is all we had in those days. We didn't have LiDAR or radar or accelerometers in the car. And using the wheel speed sensors, I found a pattern between the way the wheel speeds were behaving and whether the car was skidding or sliding nose first off of a curve, and put together what was essentially a crude stability control system. And it worked pretty well on the snow and ice in northern Sweden. But then when we got back to Michigan at the end of the winter, we started testing it on different surfaces and found that it wasn't reliable enough to use for in the real world. So we recognized the limitations of what the system was, and there was still a piece of that we ended up using for curve detection, determining when the car was going around a curve and using that in the ABS and traction control. But it wasn't until several years later when we had more sophisticated sensors that we were able to do stability control. And I think this is the sort of thing that Hotz and his team and everybody else that's working on this autonomous driving stuff needs to recognize, is that recognize what the limitations are and don't put out products that that either imply or would lead customers to think that they can do more than they're really capable of.
You make a really good point in your article about kind of the differences between, let's say, the kind of legacy long-term auto industry and how they approach, safety and these sorts of things versus kind of the technology industry. And, a lot of technology products don't have like if an app crashes, like it's just an app crashing. It's not a vehicle crashing. So the kind of the risk involved is way lower.
Impact to that.
No long-term impact for that. I mean, is that just this seems like a huge lesson for those in the technology space to learn, right? That your methods of taking your technology company and building it to something great might work in one way, but they might not work in this other way nearly as well. Like in the case of the Comma One, I mean, like in my head, the idea of like, well, we'll give you this little kit, and all you got to do is put this on the top of your car, and maybe have this thing and all the cameras, the 3 cameras or however many cameras are on this thing are gonna be able to crunch and figure out everything and keep you safe. But one thing that you point out is just like the challenge of wide variety of driving conditions. So it goes beyond just being able to recognize that there's something in front of you and stop before you hit it. It goes into all of the wild calculations that come into, well, this is driving on concrete. This is driving on, black ice. Like, is it too much to ask, too much to think that a normal technology company like Comma could release something for $1,000 that could do all of that?
I think that they could do it in time. I think that, what they had at this point was being rushed to market. He came to the conclusion, when he started working on this, he got something that worked under, limited conditions, in the area where he was testing around Palo Alto, in Silicon Valley. And, the conditions are fairly consistent there. It doesn't rain much, pretty much doesn't snow.
Right.
It's pretty much always the same. And so, it would be fairly straightforward to develop a system that could work reasonably well under those conditions. But, the thing that you find from car makers and the suppliers that make the sensors and all the other stuff, they don't test in just one location. They test all over the world, and they rack up millions of miles under all kinds of different conditions. You test in, 40 below temperatures, near the Arctic, and test in desert conditions and mountains and everywhere in between. And, I think what we're seeing here is that, some of these startups are starting to realize that, hey, we need to do a little more work on this, before we put this to market, or at least I hope they're realizing that they need to do a little more work to make sure that this is really robust before they start selling it to consumers that don't have the technical wherewithal to really understand what they're buying.
Right.
So you described HOTS as arrogant and cutting corners. Some have said the same thing about Elon Musk and the way he's gone about with Tesla and autopilot. How would you describe ways in which they're different and maybe similar?
I think that, in some respects there are a lot of similarities. I think that Tesla has perhaps pushed out their technology, the autopilot stuff, a little bit too quickly, and for what it's capable of doing so far, it's actually really good at it, and I don't quibble with that. But I think that the way a lot of people have talked about it, you get the implication that if you're not really paying attention, that it's capable of doing a lot more than it really is right now. And I think it's certainly been getting better, and it will continue to get better. And the second generation stuff that they just announced a couple of weeks ago with more cameras and more sensors will certainly eventually be much better than what's available today. But it's not, it's one of the things that, I asked the people in attendance at the conference on Friday was, it was about 100 people in the room. And I said, how many of you actually think that, the system that Tesla has just described with 8 cameras around the car and 1 radar sensor and some ultrasonic sensors is going to be adequate for a truly, what we call a level 5 autonomous car, which means that it can operate without human intervention under all conditions anywhere? And not a single person raised their hand. Nobody actually believes that can be a fully autonomous under all conditions system, just because of the limitations of the camera sensors and the radar sensor. There will always be conditions where they can't work properly, and it'll be far more capable than anything that's out there today. But there will also be others. There are other systems that are in development that have more sensors, so you have more overlap and more redundancy that'll cover more conditions than you can possibly do with just the cameras and the radar.
So while you were at these conferences, what's the general consensus about the NHTSA regulations that George Hotz had issues with, and what do you think about them? Are they practical?
Oh yeah, I mean at this point, NHTSA hasn't actually issued any hard regulations. What they issued was guidance, saying, here's some guidelines for what we want you to do as you're developing these systems. So there's nothing that's actually in law, that in terms of, having to certify these systems for any particular performance capabilities. What they're saying is you've got to be able to, we want you to record data, and when things happen, we want you to be able to go back and look at the data and understand what's happening. You also need to develop processes for how you're going to educate consumers, how you're going to validate this technology. So I think what they did was some pretty common sense, a pretty common sense framework for development of these systems. And besides that, they're taking a largely hands-off approach. They're letting the technology develop. And I think it's probably a little early, I think, and most of the people I've talked to agree that it's too early to have any, what we call federal motor vehicle safety standards. So like actual regulations about how these systems can perform or should perform before they're sold to consumers. And so I think that NHTSA is on the right track with this stuff.
Well, Sam, thank you so much for joining us. Sam Abul El Samid is a senior analyst with Navigant Research, covering alternative fuels, advanced driving technologies, and connected vehicles. Thank you again for coming to talk to us, Sam.
A pleasure as always.
Thank you, Sam.
Take care.
All right, TNT's fan of the day is Chris Peichman. He's been a fan of the day before, but he tweeted us this picture from the airport saying, "When I can't watch, I listen, this time on my trip home." I'm sure there are a decent amount of you that listen on your flight home or wherever you happen to go. And for that, we thank you for that. Show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup. Post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, or Facebook. Use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we're going to find it.
Stick around for one final iOS story. And by iOS, I mean Internet of Shoes. But
That's
first,
good. I was like, wait a minute, different store? Oh, I get it.
Internet of Shoes. But first, let's take a minute to thank Jira Service Desk from Atlassian, the sponsor of this episode. I know you. You are tired of clunky support tools that are a pain to use. You know you are. Now is the time to modernize IT support with Jira Service Desk from Atlassian. Jira Service Desk is a new service management software that IT teams will love to use. It's built on the Jira platform. Jira Service Desk delivers everything your IT team needs from $10 a month. Jira Service Desk lets you give customers an easy way to ask for help. You can stay on top of service level agreements with dynamic queues and mobile alerts. You can help your agents be productive, from putting out fires to helping employees get their stuff done. And you can automate repetitive tasks so that your agents can focus on solving the important stuff. Jira Service Desk can also help external support teams, including those who want to use customer feedback to guide product development. You can group customers so you can filter queues, customize service level agreements, and pull reports by organization. Customer emails can now be branded and customized, and you can set up schedules and rules to control when and how emails are sent. Easily integrate Jira Service Desk with Confluence to build a support knowledge base so your team can provide quick and easy support to customer requests. Now, our IT department uses Jira Service Desk to track projects and tasks assigned to each project as it moves from concept and implementation to the final product. They take advantage of Jira Service Desk's customization to track tasks and progress made by assignees using swim lanes for the department's Kanban board. Jira Service Desk provides real-time visualization. Once a task is completed, the ticket is moved to the completed column. And because it's from Atlassian, you can integrate easily with their other products like HipChat, so notifications from Jira Services Desk can easily be sent via HipChat and vice versa. Jira Service Desk is simple to set up and so affordable you will not even need your boss's approval. For a free trial of Jira Service Desk, visit Atlassian.com/twit. The first 100 signups will receive a free t-shirt. Now, see why over 20,000 IT teams love Jira Service Desk by trying it with a free 7-day trial today. That's Atlassian.com/twit, and we thank them for their support.
All right, you thought there was only one self-lacing shoe in the world. Think again. Now it's a category. Thanks a lot, Michael J. Fox. Puma is following in the footsteps of the Nike HyperAdapt by putting its best foot forward in the foot race to self-tying shoes. Engadget got an early look at the Puma Auto Disc shoes that have motors in the tongues that tighten and loosen the internal laces to secure the foot. It also pairs with the phone to allow for fit controls from the convenience of your pocket computer. Puma didn't want to put its foot in its mouth by announcing a launch date or price when it hadn't chosen one yet, so it didn't do that.
Oh, shoot, Jason, shoot.
Shoot. Nice.
You're punny today.
Thanks.
If I'm going to put motors on my shoes, they're going to make me run faster, not
Yeah.
tie them.
Fair enough. That's a good point. Yeah, why do we need, other than Michael J. Fox and Back to the Future, which I mean is a good reason. Don't get me wrong. I understand why it started, but now it's becoming a category. It's like there's going to be like a section of shoe stores for self-lacing shoes.
In the Internet of Shoes
I'm guessing,
section.
anyways. Your shoes are going to come in like a technology box, apparently. It's like opening an iPhone when you take these shoes out of the box.
Right.
Yeah.
Scooter X points out this story needs more traction.
Ah, very good, Scooter X. Oh man, how did I miss that one? I'm out tomorrow. I'll be on assignment. The first annual Virtual Reality Developers Conference in San Francisco is happening. It's put on by the folks at GDC. So I won't be here tomorrow.
Why can't you just go to the conference in virtual reality and stay here and do the show with me?
It's just not possible yet. Technology is not as advanced as you are obviously giving it credit for. But however, Owen JJ Stone will be here with you. And Owen's always awesome. Odocta, rock on TNT. TNT records live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be part of the show by emailing us at tnt@twit.tv. You can leave us a short voicemail, 260-TNT-SHOW. You can find us on Twitter. We're at Tech News Today TV.
Twit is now on the Amazon Echo Flash Briefing. Every day, get updates on the latest tech news and events from Leo, Jason, and from me. To hear Twit's Flash Briefing, go to the settings in your Alexa app, search for Twit, and subscribe. Then move it all the way to the top so you hear it first every time. It's a great way to start your morning. Find all the ways to subscribe to our show at twit.tv/TNT. And if you want to tweet at me about what I think about motors in my shoes, I'm at Megan Maroney.
Do people actually tweet at you about the thing that you say you should tweet at me about it?
Sometimes.
Sometimes it happens? All right. Motors and shoes. Tweet at Megan. I'm at Jason Howell on Twitter. Thanks to our technical director, Kara Cole. Thanks to Burke for scrolling words on the screen and always helping out. Thanks to Kevin for editing and making us look good. And thanks to you for talking tech with us today. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
Ow.